Hey everybody, welcome to the 21 Minutes or Less podcast. Today we're joined by Monica Makeda, who is the owner of the empowerment brand Conscious Kingdom, and she's also host of the award-winning podcast Freedom. So thank you so much for joining us today, Monica. First, can we just start with what inspired you to start your brands, both the podcast and the empowerment brand?
Yes. Well, I first want to just say thank you guys so much for sharing your platform with me. And thank you for such a great introduction. It's always so weird hearing people talk about you like, oh, me. But so I am Monica Makeda, like she said, owner and founder of Conscious Kingdom, as well as podcast host for the Freedom Podcast. And what inspired me to initially start the brand was this was kind of when everything first began with well, I won't say first began because as people of color and particularly Black people always been subjected to police brutality and injustices, but there was a time that started right around Trayvon Martin, and then it was like Eric Garner, and it was like things were being so much more broadcasted because things were being recorded. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that it wasn't happening, it's just that now we have these smartphones. So during that time, I was just so infuriated, and I would always keep talking about it and, ranting. And I was that person that had all these opinions, and I was organizing protests, and I was doing all these things. And my grandmother, her being one of the elders in my life, was just like, the thing with y'all's generation is y'all have all of the resources, but what are y'all doing with it? And I was like, ugh. And she
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, but seriously, she was like, are you just gonna be the person to tell, your grandkids, oh yeah, I was there when it happened? Or are you gonna build a legacy and do something? So from there, I started my brand, Conscious Kingdom. So in addition to, like, it is an empowerment brand, but in addition to that, we do clothing, apparel, accessories. We host different events. We have a mentorship program, and the podcast was born out of the brand because so many people would be like, "Oh, I love your stance on things. Like, let me have you on my podcast. Let me have you on my podcast." And it was like I was being featured on so many other platforms, and I was just like getting a little snippet of being able to say how I truly feel. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let me start my own. And from there, it's just everything has just been great. I'm truly blessed. It's been an abundance and blessings and support. So I'm very grateful.
Wow. Thank you so much for just telling us that. I think it is really important that we start being a part of the movement and the revolution any way that we can. So I really, really like the fact that, you started this from just having that conversation with your grandma. Um, can you tell me a little bit about how you just balance, like, family, work, having a podcast, having a brand? Like, how do you do it all and still remain, stress free or calm?
I would say the key to like balancing everything and like being a person that has your hand in so many pots is organization and preparation. And it's funny because I know that sounds corny to most people, like, oh yeah, that's like something they'll put on a little billboard or something. But that's really all that it is. Like, knowing that, you have goals in place, to have a planner. Like, listen, I my planner runs my life, not me. Like, somebody like, girl, you want to go out for drinks? I'm like, let me check my planner, and I'll see if my planner says I can come. Like,
Right.
it's really, really that serious for me. Because it's just so many different things, and I can't just rely on my mind to all just be like, oh yeah, I remember that, because um it's just not, it's not logical that way. But having things written down is so much power in that, because you have that photographic memory of like, okay, I remember I wrote this down, that mechanical memory of like writing it down. So that helps me a lot. Being organized through my planner, as well as just preparation, like, knowing that, like, okay, I need to record this podcast. I always have my topics laid out. I always test all of my equipment. If I'm having someone on, I do the same with them. for product launches. We are well into the middle of 2021 with our marketing ads and things that we're going to do. So it's like, once you're always like ahead of the game, it's not like you're scrambling to come up with things at the last minute. And because you're already like pre-prepped when something does happen that like requires our attention, because we are pretty much a social, culturally knowledgeable brand. So if something happens in a culture, like we got to be on it. So, for everybody, that just to give you an idea of some of the things that we offer, like we had no idea that Meg and Cardi was dropping WAP, but it's like people like, yo, we want WAP t-shirts. So it's like, all right, boom, like, you know what I mean? So it's like we kind of got to be ready. But once you already have other things in place, like your systems in place and everything to go, like it's like you can be able to pull and be creative. So that's really the thing that helps me balance it all, because yeah, being organized and prepped, and then just having a really, really dope support system. Like even right now, I'm on a vacation, but my friends know, they like, yes, you gotta go do this. Like it's like they support me, like they made sure I was ready to do it. And so it's really just about having that, like people around you too, that keep you motivated, and your planner, and being prepared.
That's so dope. That you have a support system, because I know many entrepreneurs, they are pretty much solo and they don't even have a team. So, just having that family and friend support is always important.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to ask you another question. How do you engage in self care? I know with talking about police brutality, things in the media. I know it's become very stressful and always digesting maybe some negative things that affect us as a society. How do you balance that with self care?
That is a great question, because you're absolutely right. A lot of the topics that I cover, it's very, very heavy. It's very heavy. And it's hard. It's very hard at times. Like there are some times that I do have to take mental breaks and just those self-love breaks, because it's just a kind of absorbing all of that to be able to, like absorb it, acknowledge it, understand it, and then create content surrounded by it. It's a lot at times. So for me, one thing I personally do, I know that the recordings of, like what happened to George Floyd, I know the recordings are critical to the, and them going viral is critical to the awareness. But for me personally, I don't watch those videos anymore. I've been watching those videos since Eric Garner and Tamir. Like I can't physically allow myself to see those images anymore, because I was starting to realize I was becoming a little desensitized to it. And then realizing even that much was like, wait, I'm seeing someone get murdered and it isn't bothering me anymore. And it's like, okay, wait, like something's going on internally to adjust. Um, so for me, I don't watch the videos anymore, and I'll of course discuss it with my brand, but I won't actually post the video. I'll always say, if you want to see it, go to XYZ, but not me personally. Like it's little things like that I do for my self-care to maintain my balance. But other than that, I love a good book. I am a yoga and meditation type of girl. I light my candles. I'll play some Erica Badu, Janae Aiko, and just like unplug. Which I think we all need at times, honestly, just a moment to just go within. That's one of the biggest things that my brand is about, is just being conscious of who you are and what you're experiencing. I think so many times, so often, we expel our energy out into the world. It's like, oh, I'm a mother, so I have to do this for my child, and this for the school, and this so they can have their school project. And as a spouse or a partner, it's like, oh, I got to make sure this person is comfortable and they feel loved and they need this and they need that. But it's like, how often do we stop and say, well, what am I lacking right now? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I having these thoughts when I wake up? Like, it's like taking time. And the only way we can really do that is unplugging from social media. Because if you're scrolling, that's going into your subconscious. So if on social media, people like, today is a fucked up day, like you are absorbing that. If even if your day isn't going bad, it's like then you start to have an off day and it's like, man, social media told me. It was like, I saw that post that said this was a bad day. Like, it's like you got to be mindful of all that you intake. So my biggest thing is just unplug from it all. It's too much constantly coming at us. So once you're able to unplug, it's a beautiful thing.
Perfect. I definitely think unplugging is important just to give ourselves a little break, and just to kind of replenish and like get a sense of the real world. But I also know people use the internet a lot to make money. So how do you, I guess, just balance the I have to be on the internet just to like, of course, promote myself, promote my brand, sell products, but then still unplugging? Like, do you do a certain amount of time? Do you do a certain amount of days? Do you kind of just take it as you need it?
Absolutely. Honestly, it goes back to my planner. I have designated times to make sure that, what most of my stuff is automated, which I say to all business owners, if you can automate your post, if you can go ahead and already have those captions typed out and everything, it's all about efficiency. The best way to make money is like, that old saying, work smarter, not harder. So there are a lot of great automation tools. So what I do is I designate time throughout my week to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of time automating my posts, automating my email marketing, automating my social media ads. And I don't even have to do anything. Like, I don't even have to press the button. Like, once I automate it, that's already done. So my post for the next schedule. But like I said, if I do still make sure that I designate time just to scroll throughout the day, just so I can, be knowledgeable of what's going on. Um, but it is something that I'm very, very conscious of. I try not to do too much idle scrolling because that's when you see the mess, and that's when you look at the comments and people arguing in the comments, and then you end up on somebody's baby cousin, mama, sister named Tracy whole high school reunion page. And it's like you're in this rabbit hole of information that you don't even need. But it's like that's kind of the social media bug. It's like you'll end up looking at things from years ago just because you clicked on one thing. So, and I'm such a curious mind, like I'll dive into stuff and be get down to people's stuff to where I'm looking at their baby pictures. Like, I can't do it. So I'm just very conscious of my time because, um, you know, time ultimately is money. So knowing that, I know that I need to balance it out. So designating it and planning it is really how I'm able to do that.
Got you. And so you sound really self aware and like you like to reflect on things and constantly just improve, which is great. But how do you, I guess, become so self aware or just constantly like check in with yourself and your own, whether it's biases or just feelings and opinions about things?
For me, it has always been, and it still is, a journey. I've come a very, very long way in like who I am and self like evolution. One of the catalysts for that, I would definitely say, is therapy. Therapy challenges you to be more in tune. I think everyone's initial kind of MO is like, maybe looking at things from your own perspective. Therapy challenges you to see the bigger picture. And in doing that, like that constant like self check-in for me when it came to being in therapy, um, looking at things not so much as like, why is this happening to me? More so, what is this teaching me? Like, what is this teaching me? What is the purpose of this happening? Has definitely helped to challenge my overall just existence. Because now I look at all things that way. When it comes to friendships, business partnerships, relationships, it's like, really looking at taking things for what they truly are as opposed to allowing the emotional baggage of my own traumas and all those things to come into play. Being able to really just do my best to at least, because I'm not perfect and I definitely don't want to come off that way. because I am very human and I still struggle with this. That's why I call it a journey, because even I have my slip ups, you know what I mean? But just always at least challenging myself to say, well, what is this person's perspective on this? I know how I'm feeling. And I know as a Taurus, I feel like I'm right. But you know what? Let me try to see it from their point of view. Let me dive more into seeing like what this person, where this person came from and why they have the ideologies that they have. And kind of in doing that, it just helps me continue to grow and evolve as a person.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely think, self reflection is important, especially in therapy. A lot of times people don't want to really dig deep and they want their therapist to do a lot of the work. And I think that's where it goes left, honestly. So I'm just glad to hear that it's helping you become so self aware. So before we go, we want to get three, I guess, just tips that you can give our audience on just how to balance work life balance, how to become more in tune with yourself, just how to improve your self care regimen, just improving your business, just whatever you can leave our audience with. Can you drop three gems on them so they can have some takeaways?
Absolutely. The three gems that I will drop are the literal ones that I live by myself. Like I said, if it is something that you are passionate about, it's something that you're working towards, if it's just your everyday life, if you're looking for just a feeling of less chaos and more control, take the time to really get organized. Even if it's just cleaning up your apartment, organizing the stuff in your bathroom. I think that we don't put enough emphasis on the importance of organization and just having a task completed. Take the time to really get organized in whatever part of your life is causing disruption in your existence, in your being. If it's your commute schedule, well, nobody's commuting because of COVID, but if it's your workout, if it's your fitness or your health or your diet, or time spent with your friends, like take time to really get organized and plan things ahead, because being prepared it causes less anxiety. It just helps. And the second thing would be just be conscious of who you are. Truly live life intentionally and take time to set aside to really look within. If you notice that every time this thing happens, you are extremely triggered, take the time to explore that. If you realize that every time you do a certain activity, it makes you extremely happy or gives you this feeling of bliss and contentment and joy, dive more into that. If it's like, every time I get my friend's advice, it just makes me feel so good. Why? Why is that important to you? What is the root of it for you? And then take that and use it as something that you can continue to bring into your life. Because listen, if COVID has taught us anything, life is short. Take time to consciously know who you are to provide a better existence and a better journey for yourself. And lastly, as crazy as it sounds, drink your water. Drink water. Drink water as much as you can when you can. It helps you feel, keeps you more alert. We don't need as much sugars. I know everybody love a good, nice cold juice, a nice cool cup of Kool-Aid or something, but make sure that you have that balance to drink your water. It'll clear your face up. It'll clean out your kidneys. Listen, honey, it's just good for you. So those are my three gems. Get organized, be conscious of who you are, and drink your water and mind your business.
Thank you so much for dropping those gems. Um, please, please, please let our listeners know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, everyone can follow me at Conscious Kingdom, and that's across all platforms at Conscious Kingdom. Check out our website, shopconsciouskingdom.com, shopconsciouskingdom.com. And you can check out the podcast at anchor.fm /freedom. And we did kind of jazz up how we spell freedom, because the podcast is about raising your frequency and your vibration to get to your freedom. So freedom is spelled FREADOM. So you can follow us and listen to the podcast, anchor.fm/freedom, and follow us, the podcast page, at Freedom Podcast. And again, that's FREADOM. But if you just go to the Conscious Kingdom page, all of this is in the bio. So save yourself the trouble and just follow at Conscious Kingdom.
Thank you so much for that. And y'all can make sure y'all go follow the 21 Minutes or Less podcast. You can find us on YouTube by typing in 21 Minutes or Less podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at 21 Minutes or Less. And then don't forget to go follow our personal pages. Mine is at Keisha Milana.
And mine is at Miss Butterfly 21 MISS.
And we'll see y'all on the next episode.
All right, thank you.
All right, peace and love.